Hello there, good afternoon. Hope everyone's well. Just going to move a few things and go through our checks. Just check everything is working properly, so bear with me 2 seconds. I'll just check. Yeah, we're on. There we are, right. Good afternoon, hope everyone's well. Hope you're all having a good week. Oh, I just thought of one thing. Did? Yeah? Could you grab me a spare blade? Because yeah, before I get started, if you ever do any live streaming and you're using a scroll saw, it's always worth having a spare blade. Right, just to explain what's going on. I haven't done a live bit of scroll sawing for a while, and I thought it would be nice. Yeah, we've got somebody walking around in the background that this is associated with, so I can't say too much about it, but you can see we've got a Moon and Stars design, and we're going to just make a little gift for today, of course, a happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and that's what we're going to focus on, is making that one there. So, to explain, to prepare this, yesterday we cut 2 pieces of wood. We cut these 2 pieces of wood here to the thickness that we want, and we've super glued them together. So using our Starbond super glue to stick everything together, and we're going to now cut out. So what I always do when it comes to scroll sawing, I do all of the pierce work first of all. So we do all of these internal cuts in the Moon and Stars design, and then we'll cut the outline of everything else. The reason then we use stack cutting, you get those 2 layers, so you manage to make 2 candle holders. This will be little candle holder displays. You get 2 for the one cut that you're doing, so you're basically doubling up.
Exactly.
And what's going on?
2 for the price of 1.
2 for the price of 1. Yeah, Thomas Woodcarver is here in the background. He's just got his mask on. I think he's heading in the back there to do some work. I've noticed we've got a couple of comments, so I'll just check those before I get started then. Hey, here's Joe. Hello there. Sawyer Rob as well, and Stephen. Oh, glad you can all join us. Yeah, as well, I've got on the bench there a piece of paper, because I've been chatting with Jordan over email, and we've been going through just some ideas on beginners, you know, getting started, what are good gouges, what are good tools, that sort of thing. So if I get a chance now later on, which I'm sure I will go through some of that and just try to explain some of the different ideas when it comes to gouges and what we look for and our preferences, that sort of thing. But you'll have to bear with me for this demonstration, of course, because we got the noise of the scroll saw plus the other scroll saw in the background. I won't be able to talk and scroll saw at the time. Safety side of things, we got the ear defenders, we got the mask and the visor on the mask as well, so protecting those eyes, protecting from the dust, and yeah, all good. I'll just check if I miss any comments before I get started. The carver, am I late to the party? No, we just got started. Happy Valentine's to you all. And yeah, we get working and we get doing some scroll sawing. Right, so we finished that first cut of our pierce work. So we just stopped and as I'm going along, what I'm going to try and do is to just share some of the different techniques that we use, share some of the different processes that we're going about. So the first thing I'm going to address is the usefulness of the blower on this one here. On more modern incarnations, there's this one here is a Hegner Multicut 2S. And on the earlier version, this is the earlier version, you have like a hose. On the later version, they changed this design. It is a purple hose and it's a little bit longer, and you can adjust where it blows the dust to, which is good because you can sort of line it up to blow it more to the side, can't you?
Yeah, but there is a weakness with the new one.
There is a weakness with it because it can break, is the thing. So basically with this, that's one of the things, and the main use of that one, the main benefit of that blower is that it blows the dust away from the line as you're cutting out. So that's just the first little point. Could you do me a little favour? Could you check if there's any comments there?
Yeah, okay.
That
I've got those to do as well, there.
Yeah,
when
great.
you finish that one, we'll do these.
That's
on there
fantastic.
as well, just to show.
Yeah, no problem at all. So what I'm going to do from there, if you just check if there's any comments, that was the new blade you gave me as well, isn't it? Just to make sure we got that ready. Yeah, great. So I'm going to do that main bit now, just in case we've missed any. Is it? If there's any question or anything, let me know. And other than that, I'll get scroll. Sorry.
Ricardo, am I late to the party? No, you're okay. Oh dear, Rustic Woody, afternoon everyone, are you ready for the next storm?
Oh dear. I hope everyone's okay. Right. So we're on to there we go. Right, so you may be wondering, why did I just go back over some of the scroll sawing? And I mentioned it before. That blade, yeah, I can just see just in there as well, there's a couple of burn marks that I'm going to have to go back over. That blade is now in need of being changed. Let's just have a little look. It's not too bad. It's actually not too discoloured, because what happens, you get it discoloured and then it starts burning everything.
A lot depends on the wood you're cutting.
A lot of it depends on the wood I'm cutting. And what's happened, when we were organising this yesterday, Dad said he'd get a better quality bit of mahogany, but this particular piece of mahogany,
It's quite hard, isn't it?
it's not that it's just hard, it is a type, and usually it's not far off, like carving, like scroll sawing cherry. So it is burning as I'm cutting out. So that is a bit of a problem. I'm going to change the blade over. Other things then, you'll notice that we sort of work to the outside edge of the line as much as possible. I'll have to just clean up this bit here, and then I'm just going to go on to cutting out these smaller parts of the design. When it comes to scroll sawing as well then, we recommend it in basically all of our demonstrations. If you do your pierce work first of all, especially when you're working on smaller items, it makes the whole process easier for us, for our point of view, because when you're doing things, especially like jewellery, if you do the outline, you then got this tiny piece of wood that you're trying to control, and when you're working then with the scroll saw, that can make things really difficult to actually control it. Yeah.
You should really, try to cut half the line.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the.
You can either cut half of the line or to
anything.
the outside of the line. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Half the line though, that's
Yeah,
spot on.
that's going back to Dad's sort of carpentry joinery training. That's what you would be taught, no, is to cut out half of the line. Yeah?
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's what you'd be asked to do. So going on from here, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to carry on with this pierce work. If anything comes to mind, if anything comes to attention, again, I'll stop and we'll mention it a bit. There's a slight pause because I need to tighten my mask up. Okay, so I'm going to pause there again because we've got a little bit of wood just stuck. Because I'm doing a thin slither of wood for that cut, we've got a little piece that's just got stuck in. And one way I use to get that back out is to just use an old scroll saw blade just to feed it in there and to just push it out. However, there's another little point with this one here. I mainly work with the scroll saw with this plate that I'm just moving about there in. One thing Dad quite often does is remove it. And so for the rest of this demonstration, I'm going to remove that. What it does, because we've got a large enough piece of wood, you can't do it with a smaller piece of wood, but because the wood is large enough, it basically means that the scrap wood that you've cut away will drop down the hole. So when I do these little pieces here, you shouldn't see me fiddling around, fussing around, trying to get those bits of wood out of the way. So it's just a little technique, if you're new to scroll sawing, if you're learning scroll sawing, that you can use to...
No man, he's not so dull, is he?
Well, there we are. He knows there's a few... Well, how should we put it? He's got a few tricks up his sleeve.
No tricks, it's just...
Experience.
Exactly.
There we are. So it's just a little method to consider, you know, with your scroll sawing. Sometimes it can be to your advantage to take that piece out so you get rid of those pieces of wood. They don't get in your way so easily. Are you keeping an eye on the feed for me there?
Yeah, you're okay there.
Yeah. Right, so we will continue and we will finish off our pierce work. Maybe there's something.
Say something on there.
This what, sorry?
Does it say something on there, does it?
No, that's if we want to say something on the feed. There we are. So we go on to our next little gap to cut out. So you can start to see that design taking shape. Ironically, I've taken that piece away and that piece of wood has still stayed in there. It's basically doing that because there's very thin cuts behind there, so it's just getting trapped in that position. But we shall continue.
Stephen's 8x6 workshop, my scroll board does not have a removable plate.
Right.
Which it had now, as the tiny bits bouncing about get frustrating.
You
Having
can-
to stop to remove them by hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And
the carver says mine doesn't have a removable plate either, but I do have a trick to cut down on that bouncing. So
it sounds like the carver needs to enlighten Stephen on his trick.
Yeah.
We need there you go. I'd keep that one for one of your videos, because anyone who doesn't know, both Stephen and the carver, they've both got great channels. The carvers is a new channel, but doing some nice videos, and Stephen got some really entertaining stuff on his channel. Quite a big channel that he's got there, so well worth having a look through some great fun ideas. So yeah, sounds like an idea for a video to me.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, to see what the trick is.
We've got to see the trick.
Yeah.
You've got everybody wondering what the trick is now. I guess in a way I use a little bit of a trick actually, but I don't know whether you can describe it as a trick, because what I do, and you will have noticed me doing, is that I use the blade. I don't know if do you do this, Dad? I use the blade to flick. If you can catch it right, I use the blade to flick the block out the way. So I suppose in a way that is a little trick that you can try if that's when it's frustrating. What I do find though is it doesn't work as well when you've got more than one layer.
Rustic, Woody, what is the carver's channel?
What is the carver's channel? It's the carver. But I found that if you search for the carver, then it's not easy to find. But if you put in the carver owl, that's the best way of getting it to come up. And take a note of the carver's logo, and that's the logo that you're looking for. But I find that is one of the best searches to do, which was the carver's first video. Put in the carver owl.
Aubrey Harris, have to go. Telecom meeting.
There we are. Thanks for joining us, Aubrey. A happy Valentine's Day to you and yours.
Oh, and the carver says, it's not a trick.
What?
Not a secret. I just attached the thinner piece I'm cutting to a larger one.
Yeah.
I will show it in an upcoming video.
Yeah, good. All little techniques and methods. Always share them with everyone.
Says, take care, Aubrey. That's it.
There we are. We're gonna finish off this pierce work now. There we are. That is the piercework. I was just pausing to have a close look just to see if we've got that star in the right shape and size. You can see some of those little pieces can actually be quite tricky to cut out. You've got to go quite carefully. Ultimately, though, you know, it takes as long as it takes, and as long as you get the design right, that's the most important thing. Have we missed any?
The carver.
Yeah.
He says the carver owl.
Yeah.
Or the carver mouse is what you would search.
There we are.
I can't even find myself by using the carver.
No, I don't know what's going on there. I think
maybe one day I'd be famous.
Yeah, I think that I think what it is because it's a newer channel. It hasn't fully been the algorithm hasn't fully recognised it, but it will soon. And but yeah, the carver owl, and you were saying the carver mouse. Have a search for it. What we're going to do from here now, we've done all of the pierce work. In some ways, the technique I would liken it to when it comes to carving is carving. Years ago, you did a seed within a chamber, and you have to go right to the middle, don't you, and do the smallest seed first, and then treat the second seed as a separate chamber. And this is similar in a way, where you do the innermost cuts first and sort of work your way out. So that's what we're going to do now, is to cut the profiles. There's certain things as well. I'm going to turn this into a hanging ornament, and so this piece needed to be longer because there's a piece that's got to be drilled into that, and we needed more length between there and there.
There is a principle there actually that applies. I always applied it to everything that I've made.
Okay.
I've always, when I've designed a spoon for anybody or a piece of work.
Do you want to come around and explain?
Okay.
Yeah.
I've always done the most difficult bit first.
Something that we do go through with our carving.
Because once you've, you know, it's no good doing the. Okay, yes, it's nice sometimes to. It's a little bit of therapy. You sometimes do. When you're carving a larger piece, you sometimes, you know, do something a little bit simpler. But if you do that difficult bit first, you know then that the rest of the work
should be easier.
Should be okay.
While Thomas the Woodcarver is here as well, I'm having to do this today because Thomas the Woodcarver's gone and put me under pressure this year.
Well, of course, why not? It's good to be under pressure.
He's put me under pressure. He did something that I've never known him do. I don't know what he's done wrong, but you bought a Valentines present, didn't you?
Did I?
I thought you bought a bag. I thought you bought a present, didn't you? So you see, I haven't bought, as if anyone saw my social post, I haven't bought any presents. So this is going to be.
If anybody's forgotten, I was thinking about that. If anybody has forgotten about the Valentine's present, they could do possibly a little heart keyring or something.
Well, there we are.
You know?
So this is to get me out of trouble, see, because that's what we're doing. I'm making this for Yelly, because I haven't actually somebody just walked in, so I won't say any more. There we are. Have we missed any? I'll carry on scrolling, and Dad's going to check the comments.
The carver, let's make a baby rattle also works. I can't wait until you can see it. The carver, let's make a baby, and it still pulls the video up. So there we go.
That's an interesting demonstration for let's make a baby.
Yeah.
right, I'm going to pause there. Can you give me another blade?
Another blade.
Yeah. Reason I'm going to change the blade again is because
Of course, isn't it getting an expensive job now?
it is getting an expensive job.
Oh,
Well, I'll tell you what it
look at
is. I'm blaming Thomas, the woodcarver, for this, actually. I think he's given me the hardest piece of wood that we had in the whole workshop. So that's quite a find, that one. Where'd you get that from?
Oh, it's costing me now. It's costing me now.
Well, I think the blade is going to break on this one because it is so hard. What the heck is that? That's one seriously hard bit of wood. I'm starting to doubt that it is what we thought it was. That is one seriously.
Well, it's in the mahogany
seriously-
family, so
Right.
I mean, there are a couple of thousand different types.
Well, yeah,
so it
it's
could be one of
fair
the
enough.
hard
So
ones.
that is an extremely hard piece of mahogany, but there we are. Main thing, we get the job done and we get something out of it. But I'm not
Oh, I got a grouse as well.
Right.
Welsh assembly.
right. All
Yeah, I'll keep it a little later. All right.
have you had an email?
Oh. You don't get emails after. What time is it now?
Oh yes, it's after lunch. That's it.
After lunch, you don't expect an email from the Welsh assembly. You're joking.
I'll just pause again.
Yep.
Two reasons. One, my arms are getting tired. And the other reason as well, if you're wondering, why have I gone up there and reversed there? It's basically because to feed it through the scroll saw, it helps out a lot that I got those two bits still on there to grip onto. You see that? You see that? I left those bits, see? Because I got those two bits to grip onto, I can cut up there.
Yeah, good
Lot
idea.
easier. So,
Yeah.
so you're always, whenever you're scroll sawing, we don't just sort of blatantly follow the line. Yes, you do to a degree, but you're always looking at what's happening with the piece that you're doing. How can you make it easiest for you to cut out?
Yeah. Am I allowed to say this about your car as well, Dave? 'Cause
Okay, right,
I've just seen Yoli
right,
going out to the car park.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the slowest I've ever seen her drive
out of the car park. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when she comes back.
We've had to buy a new car, so she usually drives like, she's Spanish, so I'd say Fernando Alonso, isn't it?
It's a bit like that, yeah. So you were forced into spending some of all that money you got.
We did indeed. Right, we'll finish this off and then we'll proceed with putting it all together. Okay, so I think we're there or thereabouts with the scroll sawing. What I would suggest with this is probably putting it on the belt sander afterwards. There we are. So just where I've super glued it. So for anyone who's learning different techniques, what I do is I use the Starbond super glues and super glue them together. And where I'd super glued it, just a couple of little dots had just gone on the back, holding them together. So we've cut out our different pieces, and what I'm going to do, I'll take these across to the workbench now. I'm going to do a bit of carving on the one. I'm going to ask Thomas the woodcarver, you can do me a favour, and if you can sand and prepare the other one. So I'll take that one there. If you can prepare those ones, and what we do, we start doing some carving.
What do you want to do with these?
And then we'll swap over. What I'd like you to do, I'm going to start carving this one.
Right.
And if you could just sand them down, prepare the wood, that sort of thing. So
what do you mean?
Taking off the edges, just shaping them a little bit.
Okay.
Where, taking off those sharp edges as we would do normally.
Okay. I was ready for my rant about the Welsh Assembly, but
you'll have to wait until...
I'll have to wait now, will I?
Yeah. So
it won't be long then.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to move everybody across to the workbench. Hopefully no cables fall out. I'll try not to hit the computer as well. And we will set up on the workbench and do the carving. Let's have a little look. One thing that may just prove a little bit, we've got to trap it in the vise.
Do you want me to take the paper off these as well?
Yeah, take the paper off, anything like that would be fantastic. Okie dokie. Right, so I'm just going to get everything focused back in. There we are. In time, as things develop, we would like to, in the future, we'd like to have more than one camera, and then that makes life a lot easier. So we can have the camera in two places. So when we're demonstrating like this, just makes life a little bit easier. When Thomas Woodcarver comes in, I will remind him there's a little bit that needs sanding. Right, I also check the computer, see if I missed any comments. The rhythm of the slow so send me to sleep. It does that. Yeah, I think we've managed to keep up with everything. Right, okay. So all I'm going to do is to just get a little bit of depth and I'm probably thinking of carving it on both sides. One thing though, before I start, is referring to this one here, and that is basically for something we did for Jordan, who emailed us over the weekend, and we were sharing with him. He was asking us about buying gouges, and we understand that, you know, buying the gouges, that sort of thing, wow, it can be a real minefield, and there's a lot of information that you're sort of sifting through. So what I actually done, I've just drawn the profile of each of the gouges that we use on a daily basis. So that is the shape and size of each and every one. So if anybody wants to take a screenshot, these are the shapes and sizes of each one we use. One thing I was trying to explain, because we're going to do some carving here, one thing I was explaining to Jordan, or trying to, when you're looking at all the information, it can be a little bit daunting, especially when it's new to you, to have all this information sort of at your fingertips of, you know, the sweep, the numbers system when it comes to gouges, the sizes, the width. Basically, we have a situation here where that gouge, let me choose a few others. This one here. This one also here. 1, 2, 3, 4 gouges. Okay, they ultimately all do a very similar job. And if you had one of those, you would be able to get by with the one. However, if you have more of them, you're able to do more different things. So that's what I was trying to get at, is that it's not a case of one gouge is right, one is wrong. You basically will get hold of different ones and find what suits you, what works for you, and what is available to you, basically. And there's certain ones, for instance, little palm tool like that one there, that's fantastic for doing letters. So if we're writing somebody's name, we use that gouge quite a bit. And then this one, little tiny one like that, that's really useful for doing a number of jobs. So that's what sort of explaining when Jordan emailed us, you know, asking about gouges. And then when it comes to the different makers, we like the vintage gouges. So you've got ones like Addis, SJ Addis. You got there's the brother and the father with Addis as well. There's Herring Brothers we use. Those are our preferences, are for vintage gouges. If you can't get hold of those, there's ones like Henry Taylor, sorry, not Taylor's. Ashley Isles, Sorby do some really good tools if you can get hold of those. I know in America there's another company, I think there's Swiss Files or Phils or something along those lines. So yeah, there are a number of different ones that do a good job. I'm just wondering, you don't think this is a piece of hickory? It's colourful for a piece of hickory.
It could very well be.
But I'm just thinking with the hardness of it, I reckon he's giving you a piece of blown hickory to scroll saw.
Could be hickory, dude.
But
it came from school.
Right. I think it may be a bit of hickory.
Oh, are you happy with those now?
Yeah, the only one I forgot to tell you was on the bottom of that. That needs sanding flat there.
Right. I've done
So
those
it'll
as well.
That's fantastic.
One of those, I've taken the sharpness off
That's
of
fine.
the top of one.
Yeah, that's great. And so what we do now, you can see we're adding a little bit more detail to our little. There we are. I'll tell you, it's going to be a candle holder. That's the idea behind it, a hanging candle holder. We're just adding some extra detail by carving. Because of the nature of this, I'm just going to take a little bit of detail off because we don't want to go crazy on it, because we're going to have to carve both sides. The other noise as well, you may be able to hear in the background, that's my brother Matt. He's busy there chopping up logs, so he's wielding the hatchet, the log splitter he's got there actually. So yeah, that's the bit of background noise that you may be able to hear as well. So hopefully through this demonstration, and it shows you how you can take just a simple little design. And so yesterday I designed this all out, where it's actually a design that I've already been planning for a Lovespoon. I think it would make a nice Lovespoon. So it's in the sort of planning and the development for a Lovespoon, and I thought it would make a nice candle holder. We've also used it. It'll be in an upcoming demonstration
Try that.
for scroll saw projects. Yeah, that should be great. This one will need the same.
Oh yeah, that's flat enough there.
That's flat now, yeah?
Yeah.
This will need the same on it, this one here.
Maybe a bit of sharpness off there. Perhaps I could take a bit more off the, make it a bit narrower, wouldn't hurt.
So the different processes then that we go through.
Can I swap? Can I do that one? Or
Yeah, you could do.
to take off these.
So what we'll do, I'll swap you for that one there. So Thomas the Woodcarver is just going to flatten.
Just be careful when you
flatten that one there.
hold it in the vice. So
Yeah,
I'm
because
going to take a bit off the.
it'll squeeze it a bit.
But I'll take the paper off you because you don't need that here.
No, I don't think we do.
Flatten it and probably-
I'm going to pause a second as well. I'm going to pull that camera a bit closer because it's a bit far away. When I was buying my chisels, right, let's have a little look here. We're talking chisels. Number of gouges only hold true to the specific maker. Yeah, you are spot on. So file 30 fishtail will be the same as an SJR this 30 fishtail gouge. Yeah, and what it is, there's different numbers. Excuse me, when it comes to the gouges, there are actually different number systems. So they're not a universal, there's not like a universal number system as there tends to be with, for instance, scroll saw blades. When I was buying my chisels, I found that Ashley Isles sweeps were very different to Henry Taylor, so I had to wait for the remainder of Ashley Isles, so I didn't end up with duplicates. Yeah, I consider number systems to be specific to the manufacturer. Yeah, there are different number systems. There was basically as well, that's interesting what you were saying with the Ashley Isles and the Henry Taylor ones, because going back historically, there was a UK list and I think a European list, and then and I'm not sure about then the US, but there are different numbers lists, which is interesting then, because Ashley Isles and Henry Taylor's are both UK based, so it's interesting that they again had different number systems. But yeah, there definitely are differences, and ultimately what I was sort of trying to direct Jordan towards, you want a variety of gouges. I think for getting started, six gouges is a good number. And what I was recommending is one palm tool, because they're different feel, they're different to work with. They may suit some, they may not suit others. I was recommending then some straighter gouges is generally what we're working with. There we are. Thomas the Woodcarver is back with my with my carving, so I can finish that one off.
Found this one a bit narrower.
Right, so we turn this round, and and then a few wider, a few wider gouges, a few narrow ones. It's just having a variety. I always think of it instead of getting too bogged down in the detail, we here sort of think of it in practical terms and think, right, what do I need to do certain carvings? So I need one with a sort of mid sweep on it for doing bowls. I need one with a sort of tighter sweep, a smaller gouge for doing the centres of flowers. I need another one slightly larger for doing the petals. I need one slightly narrower, like those two there, for doing all sorts of intricate little bits of carving. And then I need one slightly wider like this one here. So that's what I break it down into, is thinking in the jobs that you're going to actually make using the different ones. We're just talking a bit about the tools, Sid.
Yeah, that's a good comment there. The carver, I consider number systems to be specific to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm sure they used to have a British list, a European list, and all this sort of thing. And then it can be, so it can be
spanner sizes, isn't it?
right. And then again, but what's interesting, as Stephen pointed out, he had Ashley Isles gouges, and then you had to be careful, like if you bought Henry Taylor gouges, because the number systems they were using are different. This is what happens. Whether it's sort of whether it's something they do, perhaps they do it deliberately. So if you start in one system, you know, if you start with Ashley Isles, then you stick with Ashley Isles.
Yeah.
But we tend to pick up like a mishmash of all sorts.
Could I explain to people what the Welsh Assembly is in case they are not sure?
The Welsh Assembly is a collection of the finest and greatest political minds of the era, no?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the finest, greatest political minds of a generation.
And the latest one that will be coming law is that you're very interesting one as well. You're not allowed now to smack children.
Oh no, they've been doing that. That's already
Yeah, but
law.
it hasn't come into force. It's
Oh right,
coming in
I knew about
soon.
that.
So you can actually
Well,
be prosecuted or jailed, whatever, if you smack your child. So I'm not going to comment on that particular issue, but this is the kind of thing that is discussed at the Welsh Assembly. I mean, it just so happens that this morning I happened to listen to the European channel. What do we call it? Euronews, because they've featured us on there, haven't they?
Well,
so
going back to your initial thing that you were saying that they're now interfering in. Yeah, I mean, we certainly here at Lovespoon Workshop are not advocates of smacking children. However, what's it got to do with the government?
And do you really need
Is that a necessary thing?
Is our Welsh society so cruel?
Well,
that
I don't think
law to prevent.
I don't think
people
there's
from smacking children. It's mind-boggling.
I don't think there is a huge problem that I'm aware of in Wales of
well, obviously,
smacking
members of the
children,
Welsh
but there we are.
Assembly think that there is a huge problem of smacking children in Wales. So there we are.
But we
That's the latest sort of issue that they are
there we
going
go.
to change now quite soon. But the reason I brought up the Welsh Assembly was because we looked at Euronews today, at least I did, because we've been featured with them.
Yeah, we managed to get featured on Euronews.
Yeah, and there was somebody actually being interviewed from the Welsh Assembly, a lady, I'm not sure what her name or title, whatever, whether she's an AM or a MA, I don't know what. Oh, it's not AMs, no, it's because it's the Senate now, isn't it? We couldn't call it the Assembly. It's the Welsh Government building. But anyway, she was on there advocating a 3 or a 4-day working week for everybody. And I just...
I thought we were in favour of a 4-day working week.
Yeah, it's brilliant, Dave. It's wonderful. But, you know, self-employed, you know, have they sort of, do they realise that there are people that are self-employed in Wales?
Well, that's one thing they definitely don't do anything too much on it.
It's all very well to be working for the government and sort of be challenging them for even shorter hours again. But how, you know, if that's brought in, I know the self-employed have the choice to choose how many hours they work, but this particular lady, you know, never even mentioned, I wonder if she even thought about the situation. You know, we work 7 days a week. We
do indeed.
So, and it's not because we choose to work 7 days a week, it's because if we don't, then we just cannot make enough money to continue
Absolutely.
working as we are. So
there we are. That is Thomas the Woodcarver's weekly soapbox rant.
Well, you know, I think it's relevant. You know, how many times a week, how many visitors, how many people have come from the Welsh Assembly to visit places like this?
What, in total?
To see, yeah.
In total, let me count them. I'll count them all. A 0.
Yeah. You know, some of these AMs, have they ever been self-employed? In fairness, there are some. It depends which side of the political spectrum you're on. There are some that have been self-employed, and you think that they would be a little bit more sympathetic to the people that are self-employed. It's just mind-boggling to have sort of sweeping statements like we need a 3-day week and a 4-day week, because what it means that prices would have to be adjusted if you were going to work a 3 or a 4-day week. Dear me.
So Henry Taylor Tools then.
Yeah, but before I finish,
Right.
I actually know somebody that's worked for the Welsh Assembly, and they don't work 5 days a week anyway, already.
Absolutely.
So, and I don't think they've ever worked a full working week. So there we are.
That's
What do you want to go back to, Dave?
That's Thomas the Woodcarver's Monday afternoon rant. Now we're back on Henry Taylor Tools.
Oh, Henry Taylor Tools. That's better, isn't it? That's much
Absolutely.
better. Yeah, Henry Taylor Tools.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are different number systems. There are different. There are all sorts of different ones. Generally, when you look at the different lists, the things that we recommend, basically what you get is that there's so many different types. You get like the V gouges and things like that. And a lot of the different ones, when I looked at what was available at the moment.
Sorry to go back. Stephen said, some ministers don't even know the price of a pint of milk.
Absolutely.
It's true.
And you get the fishtail ones, you get V ones, you get like swan neck ones, all these different types. I generally find that a straight gouge, that is the one that we get the most use out of.
Well, I know.
And they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes.
Yeah, I
Palm
know
tools are nice, though.
it is quite difficult to know all the names of the different chisels, in fairness. It's...
Well, especially if you're starting out, it can be a real minefield.
Yeah.
You're looking through it all and you're thinking, what on earth? How am I going to figure all of this out? Basically, that's the big problem. So yeah, basically, it's a case of what we always say: get a few different gouges and have a go, and you'll find certain ones will suit you better than others.
Yeah.
And then add to your gouges as you go along.
Yeah, I was using that one today, Dave. If you can show that one.
Well, that's your first one.
That's the first gouge
There we
I
are.
ever
That's
used.
the first gouge.
More of a joiner's tool.
Yeah, and quite a. That must be about a number 8 or number 9 or something like that. So quite a tight sort of curve on that one. Yeah. But there we are. That was the first one.
And certainly not top of the tree as far as chisel to go.
Well, I mean, your original set of marbles, which were actually open to debate, weren't they? Because we had one gentleman in, he reckoned they were replicas, and another one worked for the company and reckoned he can remember ordering the wood because they were rosewood handles. Yeah. So you had a full set of marbles, and they did us and do us a fantastic job for a long, long time. But definitely, when it comes to like the Herring Brothers gouges and the Addis ones, they are better again. However, we didn't have any Herring Brothers gouges for about 30 years.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well because people say,
it didn't really make any difference.
It's a bad workman that blames his tools.
Yeah.
You know? That's all very well.
But if you've got better tools...
But if you... I'd like to see a really good carver use some of the chisels that I've seen sold.
Do you remember, we've done videos and shown how, for a beginner, some of the more basic gouges for an absolute beginner to try out and to decide whether you do like carving or not can be quite good. But other than that, in terms of them having sort of a lot of longevity, they are limited, aren't they?
Yeah.
A lot of a lot of tools that are sold as beginners kits, that sort of thing. Right, so what I've done in the meantime, in between Thomas's rant and Thomas's Monday rant and the gouge torque, you can see we've carved both sides. I'm just going to do a little bit of work as well on the eye. And it's basically, because this is going to be a two-sided piece.
That is fair play. He's saying there is not straight answer for how to figure out the system. You find what you like, you gravitate towards those tools, and you will build a knowledge based upon that. And that's true.
And the other thing with that point, when it comes to wood carving tools, the other things that is very relevant is sometimes things that suit you at the start don't suit you later on. And that is also relevant, is certain things, as you develop your skills, certain things can change. And that has a consideration too, is sometimes the things that you're happy with early on, later on, it's a different story. Right, okay.
If you'd like to show that spoon as well.
Yeah, Lovespoon that Thomas Woodcarver's working on.
Although I've been ranting on, I have actually been working.
There we are.
So if I could explain that spoon, Dave, that I just carved.
Yeah.
For everybody, it's a...
That's a Kutch Lovespoon.
Yeah, and it's a superb piece. I'm sure it's oak.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Lovely bit of
beautiful oak. If you look at the back, though, can you explain to everybody that I've taken the sharpness, look.
Yeah, so just take the sharpness
there, because it, you know...
We're trying to get a nice finish at the end of the day.
You get a nice finish, and it shellacks lovely then. It does.
Yeah, you get a nice finish on it.
By doing that, you haven't got to come back to it and take those sharp points off it.
Another bit as well. Can you see those blemishes? This is something that drives me daft, because when it comes to the online shop, people want a clean piece of oak with no blemishes. But this little, and it's a perfectly natural thing in the wood, something that happens all the time when you're working in oak. And sometimes you're carving a clean piece, and it brings out that little mark in it. So yeah, something that you have to contend with. Right, so on the bench now, I'm just going to move that camera slightly. Something just fell down. Was that sounds like one of the little pieces that we need. It is indeed. That one fell on the floor. So we're just going to zoom out a bit. We're going to move the camera across, and
no, just a shot by you, please, just to show I am,
Oh, we can hear you working. We can hear Thomas the Woodcarver working in the background.
It?
I tell you what, can you do me a little favour?
Oh, what? Make you a cup of tea?
Make me a cup of tea. No. What I would like you to do is, can you get me the shellac?
Yeah.
And also two little ones for either side of there. 2 little candles.
Oh, right, okay.
I want 4 candles. I sent Thomas the Woodcarver out to go and get me some 4 candles. Right, I'm thinking I will start adding a part of my video as story time with the carver. During these portions, I will explain why I use the tools. Sounds fantastic. Yeah, any explanation, anything that's going to help others out like that, sounds like a brilliant idea. I think that would be well appreciated by others. So, as you can see, the finished design, the idea is we want that somewhere around there. And I've got a new method now that I'm using for my candle holders, where I'm putting a piece of wood on the one side and just having a little barrier to keep those little candles in. So that's how I'm going about it now, is to just have a little barrier on the edge, just like so. Just like so. So that's the idea behind this design. So let's super glue it together. So on the base, I'm using 4 candles. 4 candles, thank you very much. On the base, we're using our accelerant for our Starbond super glue. I find it's easier to put it on the base. I can control it better. On the actual feature carving piece of this one here, we're going to put our Starbond super glue. I use the different types of Starbond super glue, as you probably all know for all sorts of different projects. I find that the thick one is quite useful for this sort of situation. I've just thought as well, I haven't stamped it. Tell you what, could you quickly stamp that one for me?
Yep.
On the back, just so everybody knows that it's been made here. I got Thomas the Woodcarver running around the bench now.
Where do you want
Make
to stand?
it anywhere on there.
But there?
Yeah, that's fine. So another thing we do see is we always stamp whatever we're working on.
But there?
Yeah, that's great. Just so people know, split the wood now. Just so everybody knows where it's been made, basically. So I'm lining it up. I want it lined up roughly there and roughly there. You've got to be so careful with the Starbond super glue because when it goes off like a rocket, and once it's set, you're not moving it. So you want to get it positioned as close to where you want it as possible. Now with these bits, I've got to check where Thomas the Woodcarver's just taken off the sharp edge. So it's just on those bits there. We're going to again add a little bit of Starbond super glue. And we want it just inside like so. And we've got that one, hopefully we'll just slide in amongst there. There we are. So that's the idea. That one there, it's just coming outside a little bit further than I really want it to, but I can just take that edge off later on. Yeah, and then that one there. We can just take off the sharp edges. What I'll do is I'll give it to Thomas the Woodcarver again, just to take off the sharp edges, whilst we carve the other one. So we're just going to stick that on like so. So instead of drilling as we've done previously and some of the other methods that we've used to secure the candles in place, with this particular design, we're using those pieces of wood. So it's another little method that we've developed for our candle holders. Now then, what we want to do though, we want to turn it into a hanging candle holder. So I'm going to hand this one over to Thomas the Woodcarver, and he's going to do that sanding for me. As you can see, that has gone off already. If we just take off, just shape those just a little bit on the sander. The other thing as well, we're going to need to drill a hole in the top,
right,
for that one there. Okay. So whilst he's doing that one there, I can carry on carving this one here once more, and hopefully then this gives you an idea in terms of developing the products that we do. This is how we go about it. What's your favourite tea? Hello there. Favourite tea? Good question. Thanks for joining us. I've missed a few there. I missed a few comments. But in terms of the favourite tea, thank you for joining us. And our favourite tea, my favourite tea actually, is peppermint tea. It's the only one that I actually drink. Yeah, that's one that I drink quite a lot of. When I was younger, at the age of 3, I used to like drinking tea, regular tea. And there we are. But now, peppermint tea, that's my favourite. Oh, I like how you did that, but for establishing where the borders go. I see that there are different ounces when it comes to mallet. What do you think of that? Truth is, we're not particularly, when it comes to different stuff like that, we're not particularly precious. I prefer quite a light mallet, but to give you an idea on that front, if I steal a block of wood from Dad's carving block here, give you an idea, when it comes to like mallets and stuff like that, yeah, we're not very precious. So block of wood, boom, just like so. And my mallet, where has my mallet gone? Basically, that's the same as my mallet, but mine is smaller. So I prefer a lighter mallet, a smaller one. I find if I got a bigger one, you get too much force on whatever you're carving, and it's damaging the woods. You're splitting stuff too easily. So if you need a little bit of extra pressure, something quite small, lightweight, will do the job. And I am still looking. What has happened to my mallet? I'm thinking that Thomas the Woodcarver might have walked off on it. But yeah, a small sort of lightweight block of wood or mallet does the job that we need. Have you got for drilling that one as well?
No, that's what I'm trying to do now. Why do I always get the hard jobs?
Yeah, I know. We're making you run around there. There's a question there as well about the mallets. And I was just saying that I use quite a small, light mallet, really. Again, I would say with the mallet is find something to give you a little bit of extra pressure that does the job for you, but it's not something that really makes
Have you got
a huge difference to us. We've got the screw to go in the top.
Do it a bit bigger.
Oh yeah, we'll have to bore a hole in there. So Thomas the Woodcarver is just finishing off the other one. The other one that we're working on, and what we're going to do is to put a coat of shellac on there for you all to see. And hopefully then it gives you an idea of how we make a product then for selling here in the workshop. We're Lovespoon carvers, and on Valentine's Day it's one of the first weeks that we haven't actually demonstrated hand carving a bespoke Lovespoon. You see, we're just using that wood, and as I said, I actually reckon that this wood is quite possibly a piece of hickory. Certainly hard enough. It would be one that our friends across the pond would be more familiar with than ourselves, because it's not one we have a lot growing. Do we have hickory growing in the UK?
I dare say it grows here.
It's not
don't ask me where, but
not a common one to see in the UK, is it?
No.
I don't know if it needs certain conditions or anything like that to grow. Am I right in thinking they use it for baseball bats, and or is it ash?
I know. I mean, it's used a lot for. It used to, my hammer was made out of hickory.
Handles, that sort of thing. Yeah. Tough stuff. Baseball bats, I'm thinking probably ash, are they? Always wondered why they don't make cricket bats. Here we are, going off the subject. A cricket bat is always made from willow. And I remember asking somebody involved in cricket, why do you always make them from willow? Why do you make it from ash? I reckon they'd be able to hit the ball for miles with an ash bat. Because it's springy, isn't it, the ash?
Yeah.
But they never came back and answered the question why. Is it coming together there? It's quite a big hole, needs drilling on it. Don't worry if you have problems. You can always, where we're drilling that one, you need quite a large hole. And if you do get it slightly wrong, you can always put a little bit of super glue in with it. It's not ideal, but it's a solution. Right. So hopefully it just shows you how simple little carvings and simple little scroll sawing designs
It's ready for you to
can be turned into
do the honours now if you
a
want
product.
it.
Brilliant.
Do you want to screw it in or?
What do you reckon? Should we shellac it first?
Well, no. If you screw that in, you can do that, and then you can shellac it like that.
Oh, that's
can't
great.
you?
Yeah, Thomas the Woodcarver's planning it out well
It
there.
needs to go a bit further though.
Well, I just realised that I didn't refocus the camera, so it would have been difficult to see what I was doing. Sorry about that. In the States, hickory is used for tool handles.
That's it.
There
yeah.
we are. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent tool handles.
Right, so we have got...
Yeah, you haven't screwed it right in, dude.
No, that's fine. You think we'll put it right in, yeah?
Yeah, put it right in. It's
Okay,
just
so we
as
drilled
well.
a hole in the top.
There's
So
the
we've got that
shellac.
one there. And we're going to work this out, because what it is, if that goes on the hanger like that, is that the best way around for it to go? Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. We're not going to push it in any more than that.
There we are then.
Let's put some shellac on this one. I'll tell you what I might do first of all. Before we put some shellac on, have we got yeah, I got some soft sandpaper. So in the direction of the grain. Now I know you may be looking at this and thinking, well, why are you not using a block? You should be using a block to do your sanding. Yeah, but what I'm doing is to just round off. What I'm going to do is to just round off where I've done that carving. And the thing is, if you use a block, then you end up sanding just the flat. So I want to actually get into the where I've done the carving shapes and just shape it all round. Just like so. Just a little bit of shaping. Same then on the other side. Just shape it round just a little bit. Round off those edges. Make sure you're sanding in the direction of the grain. And as I said, we put that piece on the top, and that can then be used to hold. So to shellac it now, I can hold on to that piece, and I can shellac the whole piece whilst holding on to that there. So it makes it a little bit easier for us to do our shellacking. Again, the shellac, you're adding that in the direction of the grain. So 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer, this one will have all together. So we're applying that in the direction of the grain. Get it in all the different parts. If you get any little runs as well, sometimes you get a little run with the shellac. Just try and catch it. I'm going to move that out the way so I don't splash it. There we are. Same again on the other side. Try and get it into all different parts of the design. Cover it all in the shellac. Get it on the inside of where that candle is going to be placed. Just like so.
Are you cooking the dinner for Yolly tonight, being it's Valentine's?
I haven't thought, to be honest with you.
Because I was thinking, see, if you took that...
What, you're thinking a candlelit... You're thinking candlelit dinner, is it?
A candlelit dinner, and you can present Yolly with that then, you see?
There we are.
Mind, she may think you've done something wrong.
Yeah, she may be questioning why have you suddenly turned up with a present. I may be making her uncomfortable and nervous. She may be questioning what have I done wrong. Right. Oh, now what's happened here? We've got a few little... Is that a pencil mark on there? Mark on the base then. Oh, it's come off easily. So, we put a coat of shellac on the base as well. Lovely wood, whatever it is. It's come up nicely.
It's better than the piece you gave me originally.
Well, it would have been easy scroll sawing. It was an easy scroll sawing piece of mahogany. It was a dreadful piece of mahogany, but it would have been easy to cut.
I don't know.
Yeah, that stuff cuts easily.
Yeah, but you think what you've done with that piece now?
Well, finishing is the difficulty with the piece of mahogany that I gave that. So, here we are. That's a little one just like that. A little hanging candle holder stand type effort. So let's just move the camera. You can see Thomas the Woodcarver's hands. And we just move back in. Just like so. So there you go. That's the process then for making all sorts of different products. Gives you an idea. That's the basic methods then that we use. So to run through the whole entire process, so you'd see that those 2 candles, you'd have one on the one side, one on the other one. So you would start off by designing it all out on paper and getting all the dimensions right, that sort of thing. You then sort out your wood, so source a piece of wood. If you want to stack cut, put those 2 layers, for example, together. You do your pilot holes. Once the wood is stuck together and the design is stuck on the wood, do the pilot holes for doing your pierce work. Cut out everything on the scroll saw. You then come across to the bench, do all of your hand carving. We've drilled the hole for that one there afterwards. You got that sanding and shaping, smoothing everything off that Thomas the Woodcarver was doing. And then you put the design together. 3 coats of shellac sanding sealer, and you can follow that with a coat of linseed oil mixed with beeswax. Excuse me, that's the process that we use. Any questions, any comments, get them into us. Always great to hear from you. Anything about the gouges and the tools, feel free to ask us. Yeah, other than that, we hope you all enjoy the rest of Valentine's Day, and we hope everyone has a good week.
Cheerio!
Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of Valentine's Day. All the best.